Yeah, I got the game tonight, huh?
Yeah.
All right, welcome to playoff edition of the Fantasy Trail, season 4, episode 13-ish.
Week
Yeah.
13.
We were off last week with Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving, but now here we are talking playoffs, and looks like Scarano is drinking out of a stein, possibly.
Oh, man. Oh, guys. Well, I'm going to have a little talk just at the very end. It's not even a hot take. Just a little talk about fantasy in general and just some ending thoughts. That's all.
Is that a schooner or a cutter on there?
Think it's a clipper ship.
Okay.
Good lord.
That's where the team gets the name from, by the way.
Yeah, well, here we are, fellas. Playoffs are here. And, if I would have sat here at the beginning of the year and said one of the three of us would be sitting in the playoffs, who's it going to be?
The furthest one you would expect.
Maybe not my number one choice.
Well, Jay, and here is something that did happen. And I was looking at my team and I was just trying to reflect back on it. And here's the deal. I had that last pick. One of them was a complete bust. One of them has started to pay off a little bit, slowly but surely. Not great, but paid off a little.
Yep.
And some of those later draft picks, like Derrick Henry, did pick up.
Oh, Henry's been massive.
Yes.
Just as he was for Rachel at the end of last year. So Tamala, if you don't mind, I'll run through real quick the matchups that happened last week and just give you the playoff implications if there were any, instead of doing the full-on recap.
Sounds good.
All right. There was me versus Brian. That's first place versus last place. Brian did need to win to ensure that he had the bye and the number one seed. He did that handily and got that number one seed. Even with Ange tying him, he has the tiebreaker over her, so he takes that. Michael really didn't need much of anything. He was kind of in the playoffs regardless. This was just a seeding thing over Joel, but he put up a huge score, 155, highest score in the league. Nice to be able to pay himself and knocked Joel out of the playoffs. She had a chance maybe to get in with wins, but she wasn't getting in with points. So tough run for her. Loses 6 in a row or whatever it was, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, something like that. Something real rough. And knocks herself out of the playoffs. Rich defeats Jake and kicks Jake's playoffs hopes out, and then amazingly pulls himself up out of the basement, winning 2 of his last 3 games, maybe even 2 in a row to end it. Really impressive work by him to keep playing. I was, for a long time kind of thought he was guaranteed pizza. So he's out of that. Rachel, with a massive score, defeats Mr. Tamala and ensures her spot in the playoffs with points. She had a really nice run at the end. She did not get in just by points, though. She actually would have been 5th if we did records. Interestingly enough, it didn't make a difference even after all of that. Tamala didn't really have much of a chance, and then you kind of went out the window when your score was low. I'll save one more for the end. The most intriguing matchup of the week for me was Angela versus Colin. Angela defeated Colin, giving herself the 2 seed in the bye. If Colin would have beat her, they would have been tied. He would have had the head-to-head, and he would have had the bye. And she beat him by 0.2 of a point. I did not stay up to watch that Monday night game, but for those that did, they reported to me that Colin had ample chances to get those 0.2 of a point, and just the cookie was not crumbling his way. So real tough loss for him there. It drops him to 3rd, gives him an extra round to play. That's tough. Ange has kind of had a golden horseshoe going, and it continues. So she goes on to not play next week. And then the most important matchup of the week, not only taking the win, but he needed to beat Casey by 23. He beat him by 39 and vaulted over him to be in the playoffs, as Mike mentioned.
The very last time.
Very, very nice. And Casey, in the unbelievable, Tamala echoing curse crash, loses 3 straight weeks in a row. We'll get there. 3 straight weeks of the lowest score in the league in a row, and goes from 5th place to 12th.
And I will say that was pretty hard because I've put up some low scores these past 3 weeks.
Me too. Me too. To be lower than me is a real talent, and he's done it 3 weeks in a row. So I got to admit, I know it's tough to hear that there's karma from a guy who lost 7 in a row to end the year, and that would be me. But if there is not karma after what's happened these last 2 years, if we have not learned anything, I don't know what there is in this
I don't know
world.
if I believe in curses, but I do think that there's something there.
I don't know, man. I really wouldn't have believed it until I've seen it with Tamala and now this.
Even threatening. You don't have to do it. You don't have to say, I'm not going to play the threat.
I mean, I believe this is the impeachment debate in a nutshell right there.
I'll have one for that. That's good, man.
So I believe that wraps it up, and that leaves us with Brian and Ange sitting this one out, having themselves a nice round 1, and then tomorrow that'll take us into the actual playoffs. You want to give us some previews?
Yeah, let's start off with the consolation bracket. I know you and Joel paid. I know I paid. I know Jake paid.
Yeah, I just checked in with Michael 5 minutes ago. Casey also paid. We're just waiting on Rich, and Rich doesn't have Venmo. So it's just going to have to be a thing where I'll either front the 5 and get it from him or whatever. But I'm happy that people have done that and gotten themselves ready for that consolation bracket. Scarano, you're not in it.
What's that, sir?
I said, you're not in it. Are you looking at the matchups? You might be the best person to talk about it since you're not actually a part of it.
Well, okay.
I think what we also have to look at is it's not a normal playoff seeding bracket.
No, it's not. It's very
Joelle
interesting.
comes in at 7th, and she has to play the 8th ranked team.
Right.
Jake, and then which is interesting in how it's done it.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, all these teams are not very good. She had the best wins, but she didn't have.
Yeah, I just think that once you get out of it, you kind of just take what you get.
Yeah, I think we didn't know what this would look like because nobody's really paid attention when this has come about before. But I was surprised to see that too, Tamal. I have to admit.
And I will start with, and we could start with Joel's. There's one I find very interesting because something can happen that I just can't wait for. It's not on this matchup.
Okay, go ahead. Joel,
here's what I'm going to say about Joel's team. They've been on a skid lately. I just don't know. Matt Ryan, I'm looking here. What's going to happen with Zeke? Are they going to try to play to save Jason Garrett's job, or have they lost the locker room? I don't know if we could really say that. What do you think some of the problems with their team are?
When she had Matt Ryan go down with that ankle injury, she also lost Evan Engram, and she's had those two performing very well for her. And then both of them went down simultaneously. And when Ryan's come back, he has not played great consistently at all. She made a couple nice moves with Rudolph and such, but she just couldn't plug in enough holes. Joel's biggest issue has always been a depth of bench issue. Yeah. She made a couple good moves, but she just never had enough where she couldn't sustain her great guys not playing great. I mean, she started off 6-2. She was 6-2.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's the biggest skid. The biggest skid in the league.
No,
you.
Yeah, the Everett skid was mighty this year.
But the Sears took you so far out of playoff contention that it really didn't.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was tough. It was tough because she made some really good picks. The Cortland Sutton pick was great.
Sure.
The Chark pick was great.
Sure.
But I don't know. What do you see, Tamala?
Look, I mean, she's rolling with Evan Engram, who hasn't played in month and a half.
Yeah, and she's even got Rudolph in there. So,
but you know what? Jake's relying on Mayfield, who broken hand.
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up.
Jake's relying on the Browns, and that could be something.
And I think that was his biggest problem in general.
Yep.
I mean, I think Freddie Kitchens is gone. I think it's 1 year and you're gone there, especially after wearing the shirt with the Myles Garrett thing. I think he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to talk about a lost locker room? I would say the Cleveland's right there.
Well, I think part of Jake's problem was he spent all year assuming he'd make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And was trying to give himself a push. You know, Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, AJ Green.
Yep.
And
great fly, great depth, and you just thought he had so much coming, and it never showed up.
Yeah. Even
And
with
he's kind of done some of that before, and it's paid off, though.
Oh, absolutely. I think his biggest problem was Mayfield, though, the entire season.
Yes. It's been an incredibly disappointing. I heard something like, and I could be mistaken, but like it could have been something to just the extent of any quarterback who's played 10 games, he has the worst rating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think the interceptions, he has more. You do realize he has like 23 interceptions this year.
I didn't realize it was that
Russell
bad.
Wilson,
That's
I think, has 2.
Yeah, and you know what? To Jake's credit, he took that chance on a team that was really, really being hyped. I know how you feel about that, Mike, but
yes, I love hype.
It didn't pan out, and I don't know. I think he put so many eggs in that basket. He didn't have backup.
In a similar manner, Joel depending on Elliott, who, don't get me wrong, he's a great running back. I actually see Dallas and Cleveland as very similar teams. Incredible talent, incredible hype, but just don't seem to put it together.
Yeah.
Both have a coach on the hot seat. No one hit anyone with the helmet on Dallas, I guess, so never mind.
Yeah. I mean, this is a close matchup. I think it's 2 points in the projection, which, we know is not accurate.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, the projections don't mean much of anything, but I hear you.
Listen, he has the Browns going against the Bengals, if that's anything, even though they won last week. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good matchup for him.
Baker Mayfield plays well in the state of Ohio, is what I once heard.
All right, what's next, Tamala?
All right, I'm taking on Rich.
2 in a row for Rich.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? He's got some good matchups. He's got Brady against KC. He's got Evan
at home,
Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Cooks against Seattle.
Kamara's a little bit dicey there against the Niners, though. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but he's the kind of player where they don't do well with those short screens.
Do you think one of his biggest problems is just the reliance on Tom Brady and not willing? You're taking a name. If I gave him another name, and you put in a quarterback like the top guy off the waiver wire right now,
What's
the top guy off the waiver wire outscore him?
Yeah, I don't know. And listen, he had a 27 last week, and Rich got the win because of it. I'm not ready to say that's nothing.
Okay.
What's Brady's rank for the season, Scarano?
11.
Yeah. I mean,
bad.
Look, he's a starter in our league. I mean.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's not bad.
All right. And it's very like what I could say is it's real hit or miss.
Yeah.
I mean, he either gets like 26 or he gets like 11.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not great.
Me consistently scoring like 11 with my quarterback.
Yeah, what do you feel about that Brissett move? Has that been good for you, or do you feel like it's actually hamstrung you a little bit because you feel like you have to?
It hasn't. It's paid off because I was never going to play Malcolm Brown.
No, that's fair. I know that, but I just mean like, would you have maybe found better luck with grabbing Garoppolo or Kyle Allen out there?
Mm-hmm.
I may have, but it would have been hit or miss, and who knows if I would have kept them long enough. I mean, look at. Goff had a huge game last week, but I never would have played it.
Straight garbage week, so I can understand you getting rid of him. What about the Will Fuller, the deal we made? Didn't end up mattering really to either one of us, but
that kind of hurt. Fuller had that one big week.
He did, yeah.
53 points.
He had, but the thing is, I was expecting Howard to come back.
Yes. I was too. I thought you had inside info on that as an Eagles fan, and I was surprised it's been week after week of him not playing.
No, because I knew he left the game, but didn't say anything about it, and I mean he's still not practicing. Knowing that, I kind of wish I kept on to Sanders. Not that he's been amazing.
Yeah, no, he's
got a touchdown last week, didn't
he? He had a 22 last week, and he had a 12 the week before that. So the couple weeks I've had him, it's not been bad. It's not revolutionary. He didn't give me, that's for sure.
Into my flex there for a little bit, but
yeah. Well, it didn't end up mattering, but just curious. And then of course Fuller's questionable again. That hammy.
Yeah, I mean my whole team's questionable.
Yeah, well, I hear you. All right, the last matchup, is that the one that you're intrigued by, Scarano? The last one.
I'm very, very interested in this. And the reason I'm interested, Jay, is I want you to consider something.
Okay.
So the loser of this bracket has to get the trophy engraved. Am I correct here? Just
Yes.
go ahead and fix me whenever I'm wrong here.
No, that's right.
And Casey currently has the trophy.
Oh, I see.
Think this could serve as the ultimate irony right here. I will laugh till the cows come home. If he has the trophy, and then has to pay to get it engraved, it will make my day. Please, JT, beat him. Please.
Circle of life, man. It's the circle of life.
We're bringing Lion King in here too.
Yeah, listen, he's got 2 guys going tonight, so I'm gonna know a little more for sure. Cooper and Witten this evening, and tough matchup for Breeze with San Francisco. Tough matchup for Drake with Pittsburgh. Tough matchup for Hill with New England.
And I don't know, does Dallas play well on the road here after all what happened? Like,
tough matchup.
You're going to say, oh no, they're going to come back and play really well to save Garrett's job. And I'm not always 100% convinced that happened. People were saying that last week.
I don't love my team. I don't know. I don't like Murray. I actually have Kyle Allen on my bench going up against Atlanta, and I'm thinking about putting him in over Murray against Pittsburgh, although Murray plays better at home. I don't know. It is an interesting possibility, though, Scarano. I agree.
I just love it. I've been giving this thought that he'll have to take it and get it engraved right after his name was on it. Oh, yes. Come on now.
Pretty sweet.
You like it. Jay, in just looking at it, I think that when it comes to this, I don't think that many of these projections are too accurate. I think they can be. I think a little bit of this, and this is what I think we've experienced in the NFL in general, is any given Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like my team. It's not very good, clearly, and that's okay. So it is what it is. But 7 in a row to end the year is pretty rough.
Pretty rough.
Yeah, it is.
It's almost hard to do when I'm trying.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the fifth.
Let's do the count a little more. Those are fun, though. I'm glad we have this. I'm glad we implemented it. It is a fun way to at least have a little more interest than I normally would.
Yeah, it keeps you in.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way, Tamala, as another participant in it?
I mean,
it's not what I want, but it's better than not having anything.
I guess. I mean, I've just, it's been a very frustrating year for me.
And I've been in leagues where you are out just like ours, and I still set my team just for fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
yeah.
We're like football nuts, so I mean, it is a little. I get it.
I mean, I've always set my lineup in the consolation bracket, even when we weren't playing for anything.
Yeah,
and,
I always do.
The person against me would be like have 3 players on injured reserve, and they wouldn't do anything. But like,
I just like to see it for fun, just to see how it would go.
I mean, play against myself to see how I do. But all right, so let's move on to Rachel against the Michael Thomas. Expected to win. But I mean,
now who did Rachel play at quarterback? She did Josh Allen. I know.
She has Allen in.
I know he's been wonderful and he's at home, but Dax. I mean, they each got tough matchups.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I'm just not that hot on Dak on the road right here. I think she might have made the right one, but perhaps I am having a little bit of bias.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have went with Dak, but I mean, as a Bills fan, I can see how. But you know what? He's absolutely one of the reasons why she won last week.
And they're at home, and I don't like Thursday night. I don't like on the road. There's a lot of things I don't like about this game.
Well,
I'm actually using a little bit of Matt Tamala philosophy.
You don't like Thursday night?
I don't. You know what? I listened to an interesting podcast about it, and Ray Lewis talked about it, and he said, honestly, in all my years of playing ball, your body just isn't ready by Thursday. And I do think that, if you're depending on an offensive player, I'd be a little bit cautious about it. And I got you. The defensive backs are going through the same thing as the receivers. I understand. But I do think there's something to what he said. He really doesn't like it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I just think that there's a more variability in your scores.
Yes. Jamal, I think that's something that we've experienced somewhat throughout this year in general. I think there's a lot of offense. I think scores are really, really high. I just think that we're finding that I'd like to see maybe if you could look at all the players and then look at like to see if there's like a higher standard deviation. Because I just see like a major hit one week. Will Fuller, 50 points. The next week, 3.
Yeah, he's always been like that, though.
But then when you total them up, I just don't think we're getting the same level of consistency with these offenses.
No,
It's just a theory. Like I think that it's way more hit and miss. I think part of it, like maybe moving more towards a spread, has something to do with it. What do you think?
Yeah, and thinking about my team last week, how I set my team up last week, I actually probably would have played different players. I played Samuel because I thought he was the safer choice. And like right as the game was starting, I'm like, why did I do that? I should have played Fuller just because I needed the bigger score because Rachel had such a huge Thursday.
And you're really gambling a little bit here, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, I think this league in general involves more gambles now.
Yeah.
I don't think getting those consistent points every week is happening. I think our extra flex spot helps it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think our league would be a lot different if we had to play 2 running backs and went to the other 2 flexes. I think some of the teams in our league are very weak on running back.
And they're still able to function.
I agree that I think the running back thing is interesting. The opening up the flex to the 3 wide receivers and or tight ends has really made this a lot easier.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I mean, but I think that with that being said, the reason we changed it, just to clarify, is because that workhorse running back is kind of passe.
Oh, absolutely. There's not that many, but you would really be able to you'd have a lot more hard decisions on what wide receivers to play, and you'd have to be really scraping the wire for running backs.
You know what, Jay? We should probably throw it on the rules list just for fun.
Yeah. All right. What's the next matchup?
All right. Then we have Scarano taking on Colin. And right now, Colin is projected to by about 10.
He beat me up pretty bad, but I'm going to tell you something, my friend. I have 6 wins in a row. And in many of those weeks, I was projected to lose. I'm just telling you. I've just been finding ways to win. You
got Gallup tonight, too.
I do have Gallup tonight.
Yeah.
I'm actually, if you really look at me right now, I am facing some, like, it's a little bit of an injury situation. I had to pick up another tight end. That's the maximum amount. And by the way, only one of them is
injured tight ends. You have 4 tight ends in your team. You're hurt.
Listen. It is like Everett is out. Everett's out. Olsen's out. I mean, I do got this Higsby guy. Look, I've been struggling at that position all year. But here's what I could definitely say. Look, I understand what's Colin's favorite. I think he has a better team than me. All I'm saying is, again, any given Sunday, I think I could take it.
Yeah. Well,
and I do like the look of his team way better. I think his matchups are better. I think it looks a lot better.
Yeah, Collins had a real good season.
You have some real good matchups this week.
Look, and I'll tell you. Oh, by the way, Eli Manning's coming back for Saquon. We'll see how that goes.
I saw that. I can't believe they're bringing him back.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd consider hanging it up. You know, I did hear this, and I don't know if I told you. Eli Manning has been paid more money than any NFL player ever. Yes, more than Rodgers. You're like, no. Yes, more than Brady. Yes, more than his brother Peyton.
You know, it was interesting. I think Big Ben was the first player, but there were a lot of NFL players who got $100 million contracts, but they never received that money. They were always cut beforehand. And I think Big Ben was the first, and Eli was probably the second then, who got $100 million.
Actually cashed it in.
Collected it.
It's interesting. It is fascinating when you think about it because the name would not come up.
Hall of Fame.
Right. Well, win 2 Super Bowls, you get rewarded.
Actually, here's what I hear. His record is 500 right now. He could actually go below 500 by losing.
Oh,
Hurting his Hall
They
of Fame.
bring
It's
back.
interesting.
I haven't followed closely. Why have they brought him back? Is there a reason?
High ankle sprain for Danny Dimes.
Okay, there was an injury.
Probably
there.
out a week or two, maybe even rest of the season.
Okay. I mean, would you risk your future?
So it looks like, we'll know Rachel and Michael's Sunday, but we probably won't know what's happening with Scarano until Monday night.
Love it.
Scarano, you just got your first catch.
Just like last Monday, and I went to sleep, and I did wake up at like 3 a.m. I'll admit. And you know what? I went over to my phone and I jumped out of bed, but tried to keep it down because I was so happy. As soon as I saw the 0 on Lockett's score, I was like, yes! Yes! As soon as I got that 0. And Tyler Lockett's not much one to lay an egg. I will say that. I don't know what happened.
Well, since you were lucky enough to actually be around Casey, what was his reaction in person?
He was just like, I don't know how Gallup lays an egg, man. How does he get a 0? Or pardon me, I'm looking at Gallup right now. I don't know how Lockett lays an egg, man. I don't know how this happened. He goes, and all the way to pizza. He was down, man. He was down. He's like, all the way to pizza.
I
mean, that guy made that bold prediction, and wow, just something.
But you know what? He had a good season.
Yeah,
he did fine. I think we made a comment on the fact that early in the year he really threw a bunch of games, and the games that he threw were the idea of it won't matter. I'll eventually get all my guys back and get a ton of points, and he was sort of right. But if he hadn't thrown some of those games at the beginning of the year and actually made a play, I just wonder with some of the other guys he would have eventually gotten back if he wouldn't have made a run at some more wins. I mean, he was like 1-4.
I mean, look. Breeze was hurt there for what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
And Hill
lost Connor repeatedly, and then he lost Hill for 4 weeks. I mean, and I know you have terrible luck with everyone, but I mean, your quarterback, top receiver, top running back, and
I hear you.
So close. So I know
he had it.
Like.
I know. He did a good job. There's no doubt about it. But, you could argue that potentially he played it with the team he had. I don't know. Yeah. Both sides, I think, he hurt.
I don't quite know why he's carrying 2 kickers right now, but.
Because he wants to win trophies, what I think.
And
because he wants to engrave a trophy.
Boy, that's a nice start for Joel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A little Zeke action there. 9 points on the first drive against our defense, but still pretty good.
And they drive the ball right down the field. I don't know. Maybe Garrett does save his job. I don't think.
They did the same thing last week.
Yep.
Yeah. They can't keep it up. He'll start throwing the ball, and I don't know.
Garrett's
all right, fellas. Anything else, Mike?
You wanted to have a real quick. I don't mean to make this nostalgia, but I was just thinking back to this. We've seen a couple of times where people seem to want to give up in fantasy football, and not that I like to talk about myself or give myself props, but some people have said that I have. But I do want to go back to 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, I wrote this on the Dog Bowl.
Oh yeah,
the playoffs by just a point or two.
Oh, no.
Think about it. Of all the year, we have this much. By the way, this is the year 2000. Cheers. It's dangerous.
Was that the last time we saw the Dog Bowl?
Yeah, man.